Okay, so let's talk about all the books that I read in May. So in May was the Mysteries in Mayhem readathon that Maddie at the Bookish Cottage, she hosted it. So I'm going to talk about all the books I read. So I read a lot more books. I had been in a reading slump, which is why you haven't seen any videos from me talking about books. I think in April I read 2 books. I just hadn't been feeling the best. That's a different story for another video. I have chronic illnesses, and so I just haven't felt like reading. So this month, though, I felt like reading, and it was a readathon, so more incentive. So I read a lot of books. I read 41 books, and a couple of those, one was a DNF, so I DNF'd one book, and then a couple of the books were short story series. So in order for a book to count for points, it needed to be 150 pages or more. So these each were like 50, 60, 70 pages. So I read the entire series because I wanted to read the whole series. But then it counted for points if I did it that way. So there was 2 series of those. So those were 12 short stories altogether. Some of these are continuations, like they're in a series, so I'm not going to elaborate on any of them. We're just going to speed through them because I can't give you details because it would be spoilers for previous books in that series. So, the first book I read was New Year, New Sense by Tanya Kappas. I'll put the graphic here. I also read Chocolate Bunny Betrayal. Those and 4th of July Forgery. Those all 3 are continuations in the series of hers that's, what's it called? Holiday Cozy Mysteries, but they're in, I can't remember the little town's name. But they're not the Campers and Criminal series. This is a different series. But the girl that is the main character in those is a side character or a journalist. She's a journalist in the Campers and Criminals series. So these are just continuing. Obviously, one is New Year's, one is Easter, and one is 4th of July. But they were all really fun. I really enjoyed Tanya Kappas's writing. She is from Kentucky. I am also from Kentucky. I'm actually from the area that the Campers and Criminals talk about. Normal is not a real place, but the Daniel Boone National Forest is, and I grew up in that area. So it's just fun to hear her talk about these different places, and I know most of the places that she's talking about. Side note, I'm sorry about the lighting. We have not renovated this house since we bought it, and they put mirrors on this wall so you can see the reflections of the lights, but it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't make those mirrors go away. Anyway, so the next that I read was Some Like It Scott by Pepper Basham, and I've really been enjoying Pepper Basham's writing. I hadn't read any of her stuff until last year, I think, and this one is not part of a series, I don't think, unless there's more to come after it, but this one was a really, really good time. But I did give it 5 stars. Oh, the other ones, the Holiday Cozy Mysteries, each were a 4-star. The Pepper Basham is a 5-star. It's just a cute, fun, cozy romance, and she writes really clean, so there's no bad language, there's no steamy scenes, none of that kind of stuff. So it was really good. Obviously, it takes place in Scotland. So I really enjoyed it. It was 5 stars, and it's about a podcaster, travel writer. She travels to Scotland she's doing like a, what do they call it, an Edwardian experience that she's going to write up or whatever. But she apparently has ties to Scotland, so she's just kind of looking into things and trying to find out her family history. And it's a grumpy sunshine, and he's a grump, and so she comes across him, and it's just fun. It's just a really, really good time. I highly recommend it. The next that I read is Dean Koontz, The Crooked Staircase. and it was a 5-star. It's the continuation in the Jane Hawk series, and this one is a true mystery. I really enjoy them, and I really enjoy Dean Koontz's writing. And I said it's 5 stars, but I can't give you much information about it because it's the third in the book. And in his books, in the series, and in this series, there's an overarching mystery that Jane Hawk is solving that involves the death of her husband. And then there's smaller mysteries that take place or storylines in each book. And so it's good. War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. This was for they had a sci-fi like mini challenge or whatever. Then of course this story is a classic and it's really good. I'm not a sci-fi person. That's not something that I tend to go for much. And I like any of those kind of things, sci-fi or fantasy. I'm just not big into it. I don't like anything that's too out there. And even though this is out there, it doesn't do a lot of world building because it takes place on Earth. And then, but the story is good, and it's talking about the invasion, of aliens coming to the Earth. So it was really interesting. The next one was for a victims read, and I think maybe it was Elise. Don't hold me to that. I don't remember which victim it was. But if you read a victim book, then you got extra bonus points for your team or whatever. So the next one was The Resurrectionist. I'll put a graphic here. I did not like this book in the slightest bit. I gave it a 1-star, and I actually DNF'd it at 50% because I think it's supposed to be a thriller, and I was bored. And I don't mind the concept of, like this is talking about body snatchers back in the Victoria era. These kids were in medical school, and they had to have cadavers to study. And so it was a thing back in that time period. Body snatching was a big deal. And so it talks about that. And that would have been a fine concept. And if there was a mystery surrounding it, it would have been fine. And there may have been, I didn't continue reading the book. As I said, I stopped at 50% because there brings up a romance. It's an MM romance. And I just didn't like the idea of having a romance in with this body snatching concept. For me, that's too dark. I'm not a dark romance person. That's just not something that don't do nothing for me. So I DNF'd it. I didn't want to read no more about it. So, but I'm sure other people have read it and loved it. Go listen to one of their reviews. Don't take everything I say with a grain of salt. The next one that I read was Soraya Wilson's Falling Overboard, and this was really cute. It was 4 stars. I read it on Kindle Unlimited. Most of these, I only read one physical book. The rest of them were on Kindle Unlimited or on audio. This one was on Kindle Unlimited, and I had been wanting to read it for a while. And she works on a cruise liner, and they have a new hire last minute right before they go over on whatever it's called when they go out to sea. And they fall for each other, and it's really, really cute. It's a clean romance. I really enjoyed it. It was a good time. The next one that I read is part of a series. The next one is part of a series, and it's The Entangled Treasure Trail by Benedict Brown. I don't remember what number it is in the series, but it's 4 or 5, somewhere in there. And I gave it a 5-star. I have thoroughly enjoyed all these. This is the Lord Edgington Investigate series. And it takes place in the 1920s, and he's an or a retired police something. He was high up there, and it's just so much fun. And him and his grandson, who in the beginning of the book series, he's in high school, and so it's just really good. They bond over the mysteries, and he's teaching his grandson how to use his brain and just do all these investigating and all that kind of stuff. And so it's really fun. I really enjoy the dynamic between Lord Edgington and his grandson. And in this one, it's a good time. I just highly recommend them. They're so good. The next one that I read was John le Carré's The Honorable Schoolboy. I had this on audio. I gave it 3 stars. I was bored in this one. And most of the time, I really like John le Carré. It is a kind of slow mystery books. They're true mysteries. But this one was so confounded. It was so confusing. There were so many characters and so many different little subplots. For me, it was hard to follow. I did listen to it on audio. That normally doesn't bother me. I've been listening to audiobooks for 12, 13 years all the time. When I first got back, well, I say back into, I didn't enjoy reading as a child. So when I first started getting into reading, it was all on audio. I read them at work all the time. And so it's never been an issue before. But this particular book, I just found it hard to follow, and it was convoluted. But these are the George Smiley series, and he is a spy. So, and most of these ones that I've been reading are around the Cold War era. So they're good, don't get me wrong, but I didn't enjoy this one as much as the other ones. The next one that I read was A Midnight Puzzle by Gigi Pandidian. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, and I apologize if it's incorrect. But this is the first I've read of hers. This is later on in the series. I didn't realize that when I got it. So there's at least one more in front of this one. And she is renovating. I don't know if it's her property. I can't remember now if it's her property or like a relative's property. But they renovate homes. And so they're renovating. And this was, and then a body turns up at the theater or something. And it was really good. I kept putting it off because actually by the cover, I thought it was like a middle grade. That's what I get for not doing my research. So I kept putting it off, but I finally read it for the readathon, and I really enjoyed it. It was really, really good. Obviously, I gave it 5 stars. So I want to read the rest in the series since reading that. And then the only one that I read physically was this one, and it is A Simplified Life by Emily Ley. This is a nonfiction, and I read it because it's blue cover with this on it, pineapple, so it had an object on there. And it's tactical tools for intentional living, and it's making your life easier, basically. But simple things that you can introduce into your life to make everything easier. Not necessarily easier. Life is hard. It's just part of it. But things you don't have to worry about. So like you can, like meal planning, organizing different areas of your house to where they flow easier. So you take off that much pressure off of yourself day to day, if that kind of makes sense. And I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. I want to reread it and implement some of her things. I really liked it. I do believe she's a Christian, and she talked about going to church, but it's not a Christian only book. I feel like she didn't really mention much about her faith or going to church in it. There's not a whole lot about that in here. So I found it as just a good basic like routine setting and building, life building book that anybody can take information from and learn from. So 5 stars. The next one that I read, let's go over here, this was a reread for me. I really enjoy these a lot. It's Frozen Heat by Richard Castle. It was 5 stars. This is based on the Castle TV show, because he is a writer in the TV show. So then they had somebody write the books that he wrote about Nikki Heat, or the detective that he follows around. So that's what this is, and it's 4 or 5 I think it's number 4 in the series, so I'm not going to give you a whole lot about it, but he's a journalist, he follows a detective around, and he writes about her. So, and then the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the next 7 that I read were all in the Campers and Criminals series. This one, I can't remember what number it is, but it really surprised me. I didn't expect it. Normally, I can figure out who it is without trying. I don't try to figure out who the murderer is or anything like that, but it just clicks in my brain. But I don't necessarily know the why or how they did it or whatever like that is. So as long as it's an interesting story on how we got there, then I'm fine with it. And that's how this one was. But I thought I had who it was, but I was only like a third right. So the actual, in the end, the reveal shocked me. Like, I just didn't, it just come out of left field, and it really surprised me. And so it was really fun for that, and it was 5 stars. The next one is, I'll put the picture up there, Canyons, Caravans, and Cadavers. That was also a 5 star. Then the next one is Hitches, Hideouts, and Homicide. That one was a 4 star. The next one is Assailants, Asphalt, and Alibis, Valleys, Vehicles, and Victims, and Tents, Trails, and Turmoil, and then Kickbacks, Kayaks, and Kidnapping. And as I said before, these all take place in the Daniel Boone National Forest area. She has a campground that she runs. Mae West is the lady that we follow. And these all take place in the little town of Normal, Kentucky, or somewhere in Kentucky, you know, close by or whatever. And somehow it all comes back to her or a friend, or, you know, she's always finding herself in a mess. So anyway, they're all a good time. I'm not going to talk about any of the storylines because they could be spoilers for previous books. And so read them. They're super cute. If you like cozy mysteries, you'll have a good time with these. The next one that I read is the newest in the Jack Reacher series by Lee Child and Andrew Child, In Too Deep. I thoroughly enjoy the Jack Reacher series, and this is one of my most anticipated. I think it actually came out last year, but I've been waiting on it from the library, so it took forever to get it. So I finally got to read it. It was 5 stars. It was a good time, and I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoy all the Jack Reacher books. It's classic Reacher. If you like Jack Reacher, you're going to love it. So the next one that I read was, again, another one by Soraya Wilson. And it was a clean romance, almost like being in love. I gave it 5 stars. This one is, obviously, as you can tell by the cover, it is a winter story. So if you like yours... If you like to read your seasonal books in the proper season, then you might want to wait and read this in the wintertime. It was on Kindle Unlimited. They have ties to Scotland, and I can't remember which side it is. And her uncle went missing. Her mom's brother went missing years ago, and nobody's ever heard from him. And the last they knew, he went to Scotland. And so she goes to Scotland to see if she can find her uncle for her mother. Her mom's unwell, and she can't travel. So she's trying to find him for her mom. So she goes there, and she finds she gets stranded in this forest in Scotland. And she finds I don't even know how to describe it. She goes back in time to a old Scottish village, and it is amazing. It is so stinking cute. If you like the Scottish time traveling castle days, medieval-ish castle days, it's so much fun. I really, really like it. If any of them sound like you, or you think you would enjoy it, I highly recommend it. It was 5 stars. I enjoyed every single second of it. And I've really started liking Soraya Wilson's writing, and I can't wait to read more. I'm trying to block this light. Okay, you still have the other light, but maybe it won't be too bad. So, and the lighting is just not fantastic. It just is what it is. We have to deal with what we got to deal with. So anyway, Soraya Wilson, highly recommend. I've enjoyed each book. I think this is the 3rd book I read by her. The next one that I read was also a victim book, and it's Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. I gave it 3 stars. I figured out who the killer was almost immediately. It was very obvious. I did enjoy some parts of the book. Um, I can't remember now why I took a couple of stars off. I think the language was not all that great, and there was a little bit of content I wasn't crazy about. Um, but overall, it was just a very average thriller for me. Um, it wasn't anything epic for me, but it wasn't terrible. So 3 stars. The next one that I read was Everything's Coming Up Rosie by Courtney Walsh. This is a 5 star. This is kind of like a finding yourself kind of story. This girl she has a love for acting and theater, and she goes to work at a new theater, and she's excited about this new start that she's got. And she gets there and she figures out it's a retirement village. And so she is shocked. But she actually has a wonderful time there and builds friendships. I cried a lot. It was really, really good if you like that kind of story. There is a little bit of romance in it as well. She finds love, of all places, at the retirement village. There's another man that works there that she falls for. And it's just a really, really sweet story. And as I said, it was really good. I cried a lot. The next 2 are more in the Campers and Criminals series. Gear, Grills, and Guns, and Eggnog, Extortion, and Evergreens. Both of these are 4 stars. One is Halloween, one is Christmas, obviously. I just really enjoy these. I highly recommend this series. They're really fun. The next one was Death Sampling. I gave it 4 stars. By Vivian Chin. We're reading this as like an unofficial buddy read with, the Cozy Comfy Book Club. And this was good. It's not the best I've ever read. And I'll continue in the series because I gave it 4 stars. I had a good time with it. So they own a noodle shop, and I forget what the name of the little area is, but there's several Asian businesses around that area, and one of the other business owners turned up dead, and their noodles are found near his body or whatever, and so she's trying to save their noodle shop, so she investigates or whatever, and it's pretty good. So the next one that I read is also by Tanya Kappas. This is another series of hers. It's Southern Magical Bakery, Spellbound, Scones, and Secrets by Tanya Kappas. It is 4 stars. There's a lot of magic in this one, so if you don't like magical things, this is not going to be the book for you. But she is a witch, and she doesn't have any signs of any magical powers, so she goes before the magical board, and she it's basically emancipated from the magical community, and she wants to start a bakery in, I want to say it's also in Kentucky, but I don't remember that. Don't hold me to that. But it's probably not, but there's a lot of Kentucky ties to a lot of her books, so I get confused on it. But so she starts a bakery in another town, and it's fun. And she has a cat, and it is so stinking cute. The cat in it, she just cracks me up the whole time. So it's a lot of fun. If you like witchy stories, it's fun. The next one was for the Mysteries and Mayhem buddy read, and it's The Murder by Cheesecake. Let me read this. Rachel. Yeah. I don't know. Rachel Courage. I don't know the middle name. So anyway, 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I used to watch Golden Girls with my grandmother all the time. It was her favorite. She loved the Golden Girls, and so we watched it all the time. And so it gave me a lot of that nostalgic feeling, and I really had a good time with that. I thought it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of references about, the Golden Girls that you would catch if you had watched any of the TV shows. And it was a fun time. I enjoyed it. It was great. The next one was I believe it was a victim book as well. Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. I gave it 3 stars. I'm not a science fiction-y person. I mentioned that already in this video. But I'm not unwilling to try things. And I know that Keisha really, really likes this book. And I know a lot of other people do too. So I was willing to try it. And I kind of had an idea of how it was going to end. And it was okay. But I just didn't find it all that interesting. I was a little bit bored, and so yeah, it's just not the best. I might try other books from this author. As I said, I'm just not a sci-fi person. Um, so yeah, it was okay. So next was The One with the Kiss Cam. I read this on Kindle Unlimited by Cindy Steele. This was so stinking cute. I'm not a huge romance reader because I am emotional. I cry really easy. And I don't like to read a lot of romance books because of that. And she is on a date that is terrible, but she is at a basketball game. And the kiss cam pans to her, and her actual date is up getting a drink. And her and the guy on the other side of her, who've kind of been like flirting just a little bit throughout the game, the kiss cam lands on them, and it keeps coming back to him because she won't kiss him at first because she's on a date with another guy. The other guy is terrible, but anyway, so they end up kissing for the kiss cam, and it's a whole thing, and it is so sweet. It is so cute. I thoroughly enjoyed this book so much. It was such a good time. I gave it 5 stars. So the next is the short story series I was telling you about by Dean Koontz, Nameless, 4 stars. These are dark to a degree. Like the first one deals with, I think the first one is the one that deals with a pedophile. In the Heart of the Fire. I think it, so it deals with that kind of stuff. He is, he wakes up, he don't remember like who he is, nothing about his previous life, but he gets a call and an assignment, tells him where to go and what to do, and he takes care of bad people because they've either been through like a court system and they were let go for whatever reason because they were able to pay the right people off, or they are the higher ups that, like one, like a bad sheriff or something, crooked crops and that kind of stuff. So he rectifies the situation for these different people. There's 6 in each of these series. As I said, they're short stories, so they're between 50 and 100 pages each. And they're really good. I said I really like Dean Koontz. They fly by because they're a short story. And then there's an overarching story for the season. So there's season 1 and season 2. And I read season 2 in a couple of books after these next couple of books. Geared for the Grave by Duffy Brown. She had a prompt for bicycling day. I forget exactly what it's called. But reading a book with a bicycle. She goes to the UP and is working at a bicycle shop, and somebody turns up dead, and the evidence points to the owner of the bicycle shop. So she's trying to clear his name. It's a fun time. It's very cute, actually. I really enjoyed it. Then the next one is Class Reunions Are Murder by Libby Klein. This was a 4-star for me. The other one was 4-star. I don't know if I said that. This one, I think it was just one of the co-hosts' favorite. I know Jules really loves it. And it was a fun time. I really enjoyed it as well. She gets roped into going back to her class reunion. She had a terrible high school experience, and so she's going back for their class reunion, and lo and behold, the high school bully ends up dead. And who is the suspect except for her, because she discovers the body. So she's trying to clear her name and figure out what in the world's going on. So it was it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of there's some 80s references, and it's a good time. So then the next one that I read is the season 2 of the Nameless short story collection by Dean Koontz. These are on Kindle Unlimited. I don't know if I said that previously. Again, these are kind of dark, but they're a good time. So if you like that kind of thing, if you like mystery, series. They're not cozy. They're, they're a little bit dark, but they're good. The next that I read is Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. I gave it 5 stars. I really like Agatha Christie. I know some people don't because she there's a lot of detail in her books, and it's just investigating. It's just talking, most of the time. But I did not see the killer coming in this one. I thought I knew who it was, and then she surprised me in the end. And she does that sometimes. And so I really, really like Agatha Christie. And I know that Comfy Cozy Book Club is doing an Agatha August, and I'm really excited about it. So this one is way up there in the Hercule Poirot series. I think this is like number 17 or 18, because I'm up to number 20, because I had read the next book in the series previously, just out of order, so I'm not going to reread it. But then there's number 20 is what I'm on now. So they're good. I enjoy my Agatha Christie. They're a good time. The next that I read was just because it was blue and needed an object on the cover, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. So, but the BFG, that I finally read it. Gave it 3 stars. I forget, there was a reason, but it's giants, obviously, the big friendly giant. And it was good, and I can understand, like, for young kids, this would be absolutely an epic story. It's been around forever. 3 stars. The next that I read, I think, was also a victim book, and it was Alice Feeney's Beautiful Ugly, and it is a 4-star from me because I figured it out. And I have read 3 of her books now, and they've all been 3 or 4 stars for me, so I'll probably continue to read them, but they've all been fairly predictable for me as well, but they are a fun time. But this guy's wife goes missing, and he's a writer, and so his editor sends him on a vacation out of the city so he can have some quiet to write and hopefully get something written. Well, then he sees somebody that looks a lot like his dead wife. Or missing wife. Maybe it's missing wife. So, somebody that looks just like his missing wife. So, and even though it turned out kind of the way that I expected it to, I didn't love the ending. If she had ended it a different way, I probably would have gave it 5 stars. But other than that, I enjoyed it. I'll continue to read her books. So it was a fun time. 4 stars. The next one that I read was a very emotional read, and this was for Krista. This was for Keisha's book club, the Revive book club, The Extraordinary Deaths of Mrs. Kipp by Sarah Brunsvold. This was so good. I gave it 5 stars. It's a Christian fiction book, and this lady is dying of cancer, and she goes to a nursing home she can't live by herself anymore, and so the lady, one of the caregivers at the nursing home, has the idea to bring in a writer to write up her obituary. And because she has done some extraordinary things in her lifetime, the Lord has used her in a great many ways. And so this young writer comes to write her obituary, and it's them going over Mrs. Kipp's story, and it's the young writer coming out of her shell and really being inspired by Mrs. Kipp to live the way the Lord wants us to live and do something extraordinary for Him. And you can be extraordinary in the simple everyday things as well. So it was a really, really good story. And I cried from beginning to end. I am an emotional person. But if you are a crier, you are going to cry in this book because it's emotional. But it was a good time. It was absolutely a blessing and an encouragement. And it made me realize that I had a couple of ladies growing up that were kind of like Mrs. Kipp. And they were bold, and they were passionate about the Lord and doing His work. and they were just such an encouragement to me. And I have another friend currently who's also my prayer partner, and she's the same way. She's very bold, and she's not afraid to talk to anybody, and she loves very deeply and cares very deeply for those in her circle. And it's just really an encouragement to have those kind of people in your life. And I'm so grateful that the Lord has given me friends like that. And so it was nice to have that in book form and have that encouragement. It was really, really good. Then the next one was another cozy mystery that I read, Ropes, Riddles, and Robberies by Tanya Kappas. It was 4 stars. Again, Daniel Boone National Forest camping. It's a really fun time. I just can't talk about this series enough. It was a lot of fun. Now I will say, like, I read them back to back to back, and I do recommend reading them in order because they do contain spoilers. Spoilers don't bother me, but I prefer to read things in order anyway, so I'm reading them in order. And I don't mind to read them back to back to back. If I could get them all in one go from the library, the audiobooks, then I would read them one right after another. But sometimes I have to wait in between books. So it is what it is. The next one and the last one that I read in May was Survival of the Fritters by Ginger Bolton, and I gave it 3 stars. And this was cute. So she is a widow whose husband was a cop and he passed away, and she opens a coffee shop and donut shop. So she has a group of knitters that come and knit every day, and they're older ladies, and they sit and they talk about everything and they knit. And one of their knitters don't show up for something, and so they go to check on her, and they discover that she has been murdered. And so they call the cops, and the lady that lives next door to our main character is the main suspect, and she has grown to care for her next door neighbor, and she is trying to get her, cleared or whatever. So it's that, and it's a story of her becoming friends with this neighbor lady, and then her husband's ex-partner, police force partner, is doing the investigating for the actual murder. And so it's just that story. It was fun. I might would continue in the series just to see how it goes. For me, 3 stars. I liked the book. I had a fun time. There was just a couple of things that I didn't love about it. And I need to take better notes so I can review better. But it wasn't anything language-wise or content-wise that was off-putting to me. It was still clean. It was a cozy mystery. And it was fun. So that's all the books that I read in May. Let me know down below anything that you read in May that you were excited about and want to share. Leave me some kind of mystery style emoji in the comments to let me know you're here, like the magnifying glass or the detective or anything like that, or one of the campers. Do they have a little camper emoji like they might have for all the Campers and Criminals books that I read in May. May was a good reading month. Anyway, so stay tuned, and I'll share more when I can. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And just thanks so much for stopping by. See you.